Welcome back to Geek News Now, live, where people are joining all the time, getting in on the action. Just like David, who literally just joined us.
Just walked in.
Yes.
That was magic.
Timing. That's what we call good timing. Here just in time is David. Be joined a little bit later by Patricia as well. She told me she is on the way. Also got Debbie here as usual. Always love having Debbie here, part of our social media team, who helps spread all those wonderful memes, all the articles that everyone's writing. She's putting them up on Facebook, the Instagram, the Twitter. So make sure you check all those things. And we also got John here. John, a wonderful podcast host, the Geek and I podcast. Looking forward to seeing that. Any word on when you're going to be coming back with new episodes on that, John?
We are shooting for probably the end. What month are we in? I'm so completely lost.
We just got into March.
Okay, end of March. We're
stumbled in
special guests for the end of March.
End of March? Awesome. Definitely looking forward to that. And if you want to check out past episodes, he's had tons of great guests. You can find his at the bottom of our YouTube page. You'll see affiliated sites. It's called The Geek and I, like I've been saying. Check it out. Tons of great stuff there. And, you know, so we're all here to talk about WandaVision, MCU Mondays. There's going to be an intro coming soon. David, I said when you got here, I said, hey, it's David. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah. Hey. No, go for it. You're good.
All right. I was like, the people know you. They were like, oh, here we go.
I've been here before.
Yeah. That's why if you notice how I introduce myself every time, it's usually just by saying like, here we are. All right. Hey. And indeed we are. In that note, WandaVision. I don't know where to begin with this one. I know I say that sometimes when because there's always a lot to talk about, but this one was full on, not really sitcom tropes. No, it's not. We're not talking about what sitcom tropes they use. It's more, this is the backstory to Scarlet Witch. This is answering questions people have, like, and not answering necessarily, but, you know, pseudo answering. Who is the Scarlet Witch? Or is she what is the mutants? Are there, what is and so I don't think we got a lot of full on answers there. Still, we did get to see a very cool moment where she interacts with the Mind Stone. I want to talk about that a little bit because she actually sees a vision of like Scarlet Witch from the comics. What do you think that was? Like, do you think that was, I think that's going to be like the kind of thing, like her being the Scarlet Witch, and that's where Doctor Strange is going to be coming into the mix. Like that's like, I think she broke reality somehow, that chaos magic. And that's why even Agatha Harkness at the end is like, you're using chaos magic. You're supposed to be a witch or a myth. You are a witch, but you're supposed to be a myth. So what do you think, Debbie, on that? Do you think?
I kind of thought maybe she was like seeing into the future, like, you know, this is what I'm going to be. I mean, she didn't know what it was, but I think it was kind of a reflection of what that's what the Mind Stone was showing her, what she could be, even though she has no clue what it is, because, you know, she doesn't know really what all she has outside of at that time. She had the telekinesis and some other stuff, but not full on what she's doing now. So I think it was just showing her.
Well, as far as we know about the Maximoff twins, they were both, all we knew about them before this in the Marvel Cinematic Universe was that they were experimented on with the Mind Stone. And then from that experimentation, which was always vague, they gained powers. In this, we hear one of the scientists says no one has survived direct contact with the stone. Second of all, they don't even see what happens, which is very reminiscent of earlier episodes when we saw Wanda rearranging stuff in her reality, in the Hex reality. It would just be like a jump cut. It's just like that. So that's an interesting thing, I think. Like that's just in reality, though. They were just watching in reality, and that happened. So I think that's a very interesting thing to note, that level of power there, because she's only been able to do that within the Hex. Is she potentially powerful enough? Is there like powerful to actually change reality? and people have brought up things like being a Nexus being, that stuff from the comics. But what do you think, John, about the Scarlet Witch reveal? Did that mean anything to you?
Well, I always say, I am not the person to go to as far as backstory and history and what this shape means that's on the wall. There's people that just look at this stuff. I'm watching it as a guy who started watching Marvel stuff and getting into it since 2008. That's my beginning, and I think it's that Mind Stone comes from when Loki was using the Mind Stone, he would, because it was in the scepter, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he would be able to change and take control of people. So, I mean, I just see the Mind Stone as, the possibilities are endless as to control people. And now I guess control, does it mean that you're controlling time when they cut out that second, those few minutes on that videotape, is like when you say a jump cut, does that mean that she's actually leaping through time, or is time being paused for that second so she can do what she needs to do, kind of like when you see Peter running, everything slows down, but is she moving so fast that it looks like an instantaneous jump? I don't know.
It's a great question, and I also think it's interesting, especially because like when we talk about the different stones and what their powers are, I always thought it was weird that she got her powers from the Mind Stone. Because even when they talked about it in one of the Avengers movies, they're like, she has reality-altering powers. And I was like, why did she get that from the Mind Stone? And now it's kind of interesting because, like, it's not just the Mind Stone. It's kind of some of her inherent abilities. Agatha described it as, like, she had latent inherent sorcerer or sorceress abilities that would have died on the vine, but essentially got a massive jumpstart radioactive boost from an Infinity Stone. Now, how that's going to interact, and let's say hi to Patricia. Hey, thanks for joining us. Glad you could make it. We're just diving in, going full on talking about the WandaVision episode. I was about to bring up Agatha. The end of the previous episode, Agatha all along kind of went to suggest it's like she's the one behind everything, but in this episode, she's not necessarily a good guy, but she's actually helping Wanda. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
Well, I'd like to say I thought Catherine Hahn did an outstanding job. I mean, she has been one of those character actresses that I've watched for years. And there's just certain people who can dissolve into characters that we say, like, wait, I've seen her before. And then, oh, that's right, she was in this movie. But man, she just ate that up and chewed it and savored every single morsel of it. And then even the intro where they show her, going and the coven's there and everything. And she's like, but I can be good. And then her mom's like, no, you can't. She's like, yeah, okay. We all know that, there's a lot of manipulation going on. So of course the implication is, oh, well, she's manipulating everything. But we find that she's trying to figure out who Wanda is too. She has no clue either. And it was just so neatly done. I'm still trying to figure out how much of the comics they're going to go by and how much are they going to weave their own take on her in this. Not sure.
Well, that particular scene that the show started out with the coven, mm-hmm. that was slightly different from the comics, because in the comics it was the townspeople.
Right.
So they've changed that a little bit, and there were some other things that were changed, but I won't get into that right now.
Okay. We don't want to blow too much of the possibilities.
Yes. Well, that's some people have mentioned that Agatha from the comics was a much older woman. For instance, when I was rewatching the episode recently, I noticed that there are certain times during that initial fight where her hair looks very gray, like it could be, and like the life is getting sucked out of different people. But that also raises questions. People say, "What is the power fueling Agatha?" And when you talk about in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I don't know what just happened there. John will be back. Magic interference, probably. But you look at people like Doctor Strange learning from books and like learning things that are ahead of your station or whatever. And that was what the bad guy in the first Doctor Strange was doing. Like he took something that was like out of his league. But then you find out at the end, like the Ancient One was using the same magic. And so is it because like they're not ready to use it, or because when they use it, it'll take control of them? Because obviously the Ancient One didn't go evil and fall to Dormammu, but also that kind of black, dark mat. So a lot of people are thinking Dormammu, we've seen in Doctor Strange, is this Dormammu coming back? I know, Debbie, you've been talking a lot about Mephisto, who's not appeared yet for sure at all in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, unlike Dormammu, who did appear in Doctor Strange. Other people have said like the cicada or the fly is representative of Mephisto. The stork is. You don't think so, Debbie?
Not the fly.
Not the fly, and that
No.
not just because it got eaten.
Well, I mean, there's that, but yeah, like I said, I don't know if it's Mephisto or if it's Nightmare or if it's a combination of two, but it may not be either one, but there is somebody else who is pulling the strings. And I get the impression Agatha's wanting Wanda's powers. And I think it has something to do with the Darkhold, either trying to open it or maybe bring Ralph back.
Right, she's mentioned Ralph the entire time throughout every episode. She's always like, Ralph always says this or that, the other thing. We've never actually seen Ralph, and they hinted that the book, the Darkhold, that's the book. Well, we assume that is the book that they showed at the end of the previous episode. Didn't come into play at all in this last episode, so it seems. So it's like, what's up with that? What does it mean? And if Agatha is only there because she picked up on this, there's something going on with Hayward, the director of S.W.O.R.D. And he's at the after credit scene. We see him with White Vision, which is, and there's so many things that go along with that, because he told Monica in a previous episode, Scarlet Witch or Wanda came in, she busted in, she ran away with Vision's body. And so this whole time, we, the audience, have been assuming she did do that, and she had visions. That's where that vision came from. And yeah, he can't survive outside the hex, but that's probably because the Mind Stone is gone. In this, we find out that she left his body there, and the vision that exists in the hex is purely created from her. Now, they also said they were tracking vibranium in a previous episode, so he is still vibranium. She made that's like where the questions come in. It's like, what can she do? And that's like, you can create children, you can create a vision just by thinking about it. Doesn't that make you the most dangerous person of all?
Well, are they real? Well, or is it
what is real?
Or is it is she creating vision, so to speak, of these things that she wanted?
Well, now we know some of the people are real, because the people they've come out and they've said, "Hey, look, this person is this person," and even when Vision snapped the 2 or 3 out of it, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I got to get to a phone, I got to find," and then pop them back in. Okay.
The residents, but what if like
the kids,
the twins? What if they try to walk outside? And remember, that was also a thing that Wanda was concerned about in a previous episode. Don't go past this street. Well, why? Because that's where your reality will end.
So it's like a weird version of the Truman Show.
That's what my brother said the episode that he was on here. He was like, I just watched the Truman Show, and it's crazy how much this is like. And I was like, well, they are being watched with cameras and such. That's why it was great in the one where she was like doing the confessional things and talking to the camera, and then like Agatha at the end was just like, duh, you know, actually talk back, and she's like, you're not supposed to talk back. It's like, wouldn't that help?
Pull you back to reality a little?
Yeah.
No. I'm just real interested to see how they're going to wrap it up. I mean, my understanding is last week's was the longest episode there'll be. So, I mean, if we're going to go back to a 22, 23-minute episode, that's a lot of questions you're going to have to answer.
I heard the next one was 51 minutes, but
oh, well, that would help. But
that could also mean like 7 minutes of credits, or who knows. And it could just, that was just something I heard. I'm not.
I think it's mostly
promising
her the phone book.
Yeah,
she's just going
she's going to go through each of the residents of Westview and name them alphabetically.
From what I've heard of the next episode, her Vision is going to team up with their family, and they're going to fight as a family for their home against like New Vision. Which, I mean, let's talk about that for a minute. Hayward says in that after credit scene, which just was so revealing about so many things. He says, we tried putting this thing back together a bunch of different times, which answered a question that I had when I was watching the thing. I was like, why are they just now getting to dismantling the Vision? This is like 5 years after he died, and they're just like, well, we're dismantling him. And I'm just like, where have you been for the this has been 5 years. What have you been doing? And then he says that we've tried putting this thing back together 5 ways from Sunday. And I'm just like, oh, that's what you've been doing. You've been playing like, let's see if we can just put this back together different. And like so they took the radiation from the drone that they sent in, which Wanda hit, and they were like, apparently they used that to power it. The question is, what do we got here? Do we have a Vision without the mindset? Do we have an Ultron? His physical form, this is another thing they made sure to bring up in the show, is when Hex Vision is talking to Darcy, he says, so my corporeal form was made, you know, partly as a design by Mr. Stark and by Ultron, you know, and so like he's like, yeah, your physical form is partly Ultron.
So
did we
here's
just
something
bring
that's
back Ultron?
Because if you look, do a Google search, James Spader comes up.
And could that be
credits.
in a flashback? Like,
there's
so many different ways, but
yeah,
he's there.
I will flip my lid if I hear James Spader, because that would probably be the most awesome thing ever.
If it was James Spader and not if Benedict Cumberbatch doesn't show up as Doctor Strange, but they get James Spader back as Ultron, yeah, I'm good with that. But the interesting thing about that is well, never mind. I had an interesting thing, but my train of thought done left the station.
End of the day, fatigue.
It's Monday.
It's my
I
brother.
just looked it up, and it said that episode 9 will be 50 minutes long, including credits. So 50 minutes. So we'll probably get 42 minutes of show out of it, which is still longer than the last one.
Oh, there was I found my train of thought. The second Avengers movie was Age of Ultron. Age implies a long time. And the Age of Ultron movie lasted, 2 or 3 days, maybe? That's not a very long age. So to bring him back, yes, that would make sense.
And the White Vision is from another comic book series, West Coast Avengers, and I think the specific comic book is Vision Quest, I think, and they deal with that. So I don't know if they're incorporating. They seem to be incorporating from several comics, so it's kind of hard to know what the hell's going on. But
and that's also like when Quicksilver, who we need to talk about still, said, "Hey, if I'd found Shangri-La, I wouldn't want to leave it either." And Shangri-La in the comics is like this paradise that White Vision, or this whatever West Coast version of him created when he figured out the secrets of life and death, obviously going into like so do I think that all of that's going to happen in the next episode? Probably not, but it'll be setting us up for stuff with like Doctor Strange to get involved, which I think that's got to be what some of this stuff is leading up to, especially with so many magic users. And the whole thing at the end of the Doctor Strange movie was Baron Mordo or whatever. Talking about how there's too many sorcerers. Yeah, there's too many magic users, and he was about to go start wiping them out. So what better place for him to show up or get involved than obviously a place that's Agatha found out about it because, like, bam, magic residue. So it's going to be, people are going to be getting involved. But also I think Doctor Strange is going to have to deal with the fact that he was gone for 5 years. There's probably going to be other things, like this is just one of several things that are like shaking our reality to its core, because even before he left, there was only one, there were supposed to be 4 sanctums on Earth to protect our reality. And by the end of his movie, there was 1 left. And now he's been gone for 5 years. So it's like, there's got to be some people have been up to stuff, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what opens the door for people like Mephisto, some of these other characters, Dormammu as well, but like other worldly beings willing to break through, and hopefully some mutants.
Well, I hope they checked all the library books, because I bet there's some missing.
The Ancient Ones library?
Uh-huh. Yep. There could be a few missing.
Someone mentioned that there's actually a theory out, because in Doctor Strange there's like one of the books is missing, and someone replied, oh well, that one guy stole the book at the beginning, to which I was like, no, he just ripped out the page. Doctor Strange actually uses that book later to use the time stone, so there shouldn't be a book missing, but there is. Potentially, is that the book that was missing? They could always claim that yes it is, but you know, these magic books can cause a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the Darkhold book would be a great way to bring in Blade with the vampires and whatnot. So I think Darkhold has some surprises for us and ways to, because you got the Blade TV show coming. So that would be a great way to work that into the scheme of things.
I've heard, like, again, that's going to be in the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Like, it's going to be one of the things getting introduced, bringing all of this stuff together, because now they do have, you know, Fox and the mutants, and we've been wondering how are these things going to be coming together. And now, especially with the introduction in WandaVision of like the Nexus, and them bringing making a big thing of that. Nexus beings being able to change reality. I feel like they've got to be setting up some sort of mutants. And didn't Paul Bettany say that there was going to be somebody said there was going to be like a Luke Skywalker at the end of Mandalorian level cameo?
Yes.
And so far, I don't think anyone's broken word on exactly who that is or what that's going to be. Again, a lot of people are saying in the comments they want to see Magneto.
Right.
Which I would say I would love to see a Magneto, but I don't think they're going to go that way.
Or was Paul trolling us?
Trolling or not, I mean, a lot of people have been saying, let's see Magneto, because he was her father in one.
Right.
Yes.
And how heartbreaking that was to sit there and watch that scene where they're 10 and realize that their parents were the ones in the commercials. Those same actors were the ones in all the commercials. It's like, oh, okay. I see where this went. So yeah. So spoiler for anyone who didn't catch that.
It was
go back and watch it. There it is.
Well, now I'm thinking like I've got to go back and watch the entire thing and look for rugs on the wall and like It's like, where are they hiding the Maltese Falcon of this show? Behind like what metaphorical wall rug? Oh, we keep this. We have all of our DVDs in a suitcase except for one, which we keep behind a wall rug. Wait, what? Why? What? That was, I don't know. Yeah, things like that.
Although I will say this, I that was one aspect of this this particular episode that I really enjoyed was they went back and they told, Wanda had told the story of in Age of Ultron. We waited for 3 days for Tony Stark to kill us, and he never did. But they went back and they actually showed it. They created a story years ago, and then they finally made this story. It was a prequel of sorts, and then they went into they were born of the Mind Stone, and they showed them, this is how we're experimenting on. So the fact that they are using not using the stories, but they have these other stories that have been told within the other MCU, and they're putting them within the show. And of course it ties everything together. It's amazing. Love it.
And one of the callbacks that I really, being like I said, from 2008 on, is the callback to how when she is under that desk or the table or whatever, waiting to die under the rubble, she sees the Stark missile just like Tony did when we started his whole first adventure, and just staring at that missile. It doesn't explode like his did, but that's where the symbolisms and the things that they pull out of each episode and every movie and throw in there, and the callbacks, I just think are the way they do it is just amazing.
And we're coming up, speaking of which, this episode made her relive some of those traumas, and we don't see these exact moments happening, but Agatha talks about them happening. We see like the aftermath of them, like how she's emotionally dealing with them afterwards, or not very well emotionally dealing with that afterwards. And the moment when her brother dies, which is coming up here in this music video, she unleashes just this blast of emotion and energy and pain. And then it's very reminiscent of exactly what she does in this episode when she's finally...
To me, that's a callback to the empty lot.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, just on a 10 times more powerful, more, because now she has not, everything's gone. Everything is gone.
And she's bottled it up so long, just to get through the day, because a job needs to be done. We've got to get these things done. I don't have time to grieve. I don't have time. And it just got to the moment where she simply could not hold it in any longer. And that moment was so powerful, because I think for different levels, we've all had that moment where grief is just, we've bottled it so tightly that we have to let it out. And whether it's running out, going somewhere and just screaming expletives to the universe or wherever, and just basically collapsing from exhaustion like she did, and just letting it out. I mean, it was just such a powerful moment, and that humanistic part of it where, we all love the whole fantasy of the superhero and having powers, but that moment made us all say, I get you, I get why you've done this. And just to not live in grief anymore, just for a little while, I get to escape. And that's what the whole thing's about, is escaping from that. And Laura Donnie was the writer for this episode, and I've been following her on Twitter, and she joked today that all these people who followed her since someone said she wrote it for WandaVision, they probably won't follow her after this week because she's really boring. And she just posts about being Jewish and how uninteresting she is. And so people are like, no, we'll stick around. But the way she wrote it was just so
WandaVision.
Beautiful, just beautiful.
I think you're saying there about having her come to realize all that stuff and just needing a break. And this episode, she's been hiding from all these things, and now she actually comes and actually feels them. And then immediately after the final realization, the final understanding of what drove her there, at least as far as we know, bam, Agatha Harkness is outside with her kids in a stranglehold, telling her that she is a dangerous person, and she is, because that's the biggest thing I think I read. She says Scarlet Witch are supposed to be a myth. That's all cool. But the next thing she says is, and we've all been looking at Agatha this entire time as villain, bad guy, Agatha all along. She says, like, you're dangerous. Now, if this person's saying that you're dangerous, what does that mean?
She's a threat.
To what?
She's
To
a
reality.
To everything.
She's a threat to your reality. And what does Doctor Strange say when Iron Man's talking to him in like Infinity War? He says, "What do you do? I protect your reality, you douche." Like so. I gotta tell you, the meeting of Doctor Strange and
That was so good. There's like
egos,
a wizard
just
and
the
like
egos.
a necklace.
Oh, that was perfect because they're both they have terrible egos.
My kids really love the one in the beginning of Thor 3 where Doctor Strange and Thor meet, and there's that whole back and forth. And then, of course, when Loki shows up, and
I was falling
for 30 minutes. I still think Loki is lurking somewhere. That's just me, but because originally it wasn't WandaVision, and then it was supposed to be Loki. So they had filmed all the filming for WandaVision. That was supposed to feed on that whole messing with the dimensions thing was, I thought they'd feed into each other. So I'm just wondering.
They probably, my way of thinking of it is they're going to be feeding into the multiverse of madness like theme. Like Loki's going to be doing his stuff, Wanda's doing her stuff. Like this is all going to come to a head in that movie somehow. But like the things that they're doing are going to be affecting that, causing more trouble, while not necessarily being like directly related. Like it's not like Loki's behind this. Right. It's just that the stuff that he's also doing over there is a concern of Doctor Strange, ultimately. When he figures out, you know, what's going on and what is going on. And that actually brings me to a great question. Quicksilver. Because Agatha, everyone's like, well, Agatha just made him up. Oh, someone just brought him. Da, da, da. She says in this episode, she says, couldn't do necromancy because your brother is on a different continent and full of bullet holes. So he's not raised from the dead or anything like that. But it is him somehow. She did take over. She just took over his mind. She said it was possession. So possessed who? Where did this? That's still a question, and he's still out there. Now it seemed like he was also under Agatha's control because he was in that other end credit scene where he said Snooper's going to snoop when he came up and talked to Monica. But there's just still players out there that had no time whatsoever this episode, and it's like, what's going on? Like, what are the other people up to? What's Monica up to? So none of her. This was all Scarlet Witch.
So does that go back with Quicksilver? Does it go back to that mirror when you see over his shoulder behind him with the, you know, what you think the arm that's, you know, and then in the Agatha All Along credits you see her casting the spell and a little purple poof of smoke behind him, and I guess she, like you said, she was controlling him, and you know, where is he now?
Yeah, she called him like her eyes and ears, like she was controlling him, watching and like using him to spy and try and figure this out, but that didn't work. So now she's pushed to the measures she's taking now. But she didn't say that she brought him. You know what I mean? She didn't say that like, oh, it was my idea to. Now maybe when he showed up, it was her idea to like use that to her advantage somehow. But that still raises the question of like, where did he come from and why? And maybe some of the stuff that Quicksilver was saying, maybe some of that was true. Like, how much was Agatha talking through him, and how much was it actually this version of Quicksilver just asking legitimate questions and actually saying things on his own. Like, because he actually did just get pulled here from another reality by Wanda because she needed him. And then Agatha took advantage of that. But like, because so much of this stuff has just been like her meddling and stuff, but not actually like being the architect of it.
She still killed Sparky, though.
She did.
Just don't tell John Wick, whatever you do.
Yes, right. Now, wouldn't that be an epic cameo if he showed up instead who killed Sparky? No.
Or if Westview just erupts doing.
That Westview changes into Westworld, and we're all confused.
You know, that having John Wick show up and do a 30-minute gun battle scene, that would make the episode 2 hours, and I'd watch it. I'd rewind it and I'd watch it again.
Yeah.
I think we're definitely gonna be seeing some action. Because if there's one thing about this entire series, it started out with a purely like sitcom.
Yeah.
With some like hints of other stuff going on. And as we've progressed, we've seen more and more elements of, not just modern day stuff as we get towards that, but elements of the MCU, like special effects, graphics. In this episode, for instance, when Agatha was using her magic on Wanda, especially at the beginning when she has her in the, like, with her hands behind her back and then throws her into the walls, that's definitely like something we haven't really seen in the Hex, you know what I mean? Other than when Wanda is fighting with Monica. That's the only other time we've actually seen like a superhero fight or anything close. We almost saw something with her and Vision. So my guess is, again, we're going to be seeing a lot of these forces come to a head. We're going to be seeing a fight, a showdown. But I don't know what side everyone's going to be on.
Right.
There's still some pieces that are like up in the air. Like Hayward, he's got to have some ulterior motives. But he's been lying to Monica. He's been lying to people about like what he was doing with Vision. He lied to Scarlet Witch about what he was doing. He doctored footage to make it look like she stole the Vision so he could say she stole him. Meanwhile, he's developing a sentient weapon which he's supposed to be defending against.
So what do you guys know about Immortus?
I know that you just said Immortus.
Like the Kang the Conqueror. Do you know anything about him? Because there's rumors that he may be lingering. Because he's had some backstory with Wanda and Vision too.
And he's a time traveler. And
so could he be Hayward?
He's a descendant of I think Reed Richards, or was that Scott Summers? So many descendants in the future in Marvel Comics. So incestuous, this timeline.
Well, and there's also been implication they're going to pull in the Fantastic Four somehow because Agatha was involved with them and in the comics. And so I just want to see how they're going to pull all these threads all the way through, because Marvel is really good about tying up those loose ends, and they really, really are. And I can't imagine the brainstorming that goes on in the writers' rooms when they're first trying to figure all this out. But they have been very good about pulling those all the way through. So, but it's a lot of threads to pull for 50 minutes.
What if they leave them loose and kind of give an end credit scene saying, okay,
right,
all of this is going to be solved in the multiverse of madness. So now you have to go to the theater to go see our other movie and spend money, and we're not going to tie anything.
You're catching on.
Yes. I think they solve some. They'll solve some, but they won't maybe solve everything completely, which is, pulls you into the next one. But my understanding too is some of this will play into this new Spider-Man.
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah, exactly. That's what will happen. But regardless,
and with the Loki series,
it's I think the great balance that Marvel has been able to achieve on a lot of fronts with their movies, certainly, and now that they're branching into these miniseries, is keeping things connected while not making it necessary. Like it's not necessary to watch Iron Man 2 if you're going to watch Captain America. So, you know, it's not necessary for you to, but if you do, I'm just saying, if you do, you'll understand more. You'll have a better understanding of events in the larger world of it, but it also tells a great self-contained story. And I think they've got a real good idea and understanding of how to do that. Like, this is WandaVision. It's about Wanda and Vision. Okay. And also it connects to like the larger universe because they're supernatural beings with reality bending powers. So, so it does affect other things. And we know that she's going to be showing up in the multiverse of madness. So what is going to happen? My
only issue is I think originally the way it was supposed to be released was WandaVision and then the Doctor Strange movie a few months later. And now that's gotten pushed, a year and a half away? So if this ends on a cliffhanger, I'm going to be so freaking pissed.
Because you got to wait 18 months for the sequel.
Yeah,
but some of us
2 weeks
watching Empire Strikes Back in the theater, and we had to wait 3 years for Return of the Jedi. 3 years.
Yeah. And I was about to say, meanwhile, you've got Disney Plus the week at there's a 2-week gap, and then Falcon and Winter Soldier starts, and then there's like another gap, and then Loki or Shang-Chi or whatever. They've got stuff coming out pretty much every week for the next year, so it's hard to complain about.
Well, the only reason I complain
Black
is
Widow
that,
you can complain about.
WandaVision leads right into the multiverse of the madness of multiverse of Doctor Strange, whatever. And
Falcon and the Snowman.
Yeah, Captain Falcon.
Captain Falcon and Winter Soldier. Show me your moves. I'll show you my money. All right. I'm not. I'm not even kidding. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So, anyways, that's just my main complaint is that there wasn't supposed to be this much time, and with this show connecting directly into Doctor Strange 2, that's a long wait.
We also don't know how direct of a connect it is until this Friday. Then we'll know exactly what kind of cliff we're going to be hanging off of. I'm excited either way, just to see some sort of conclusion. Do you think the Hex is still going to be up at the end of this? Like at the end of the next episode? Do you think the Hex is still going to be up?
I think that part of it will be absolved. I think that's, we were talking about strings being, or loose ends being tied up, and what's going to be tied up and what's not going to be tied up. I think that part of it will be absolved. I'm still curious. We had the Sam Rockwell rules.
That was a wonderful episode. That was good.
I love Iron Man 2. That's my brother. I didn't tell him to say this, but I agree with everything he just said.
It's funny. We were watching that one, and the kids are sitting there watching it, and they're going, "Who is that guy?" Like Sam Rockwell,
amazing actor.
And I said, I looked at him. I said, "Is there air? You don't know, And so then they're like, "Oh, it's
Guy from Galaxy Quest." Hell yes.
What's my last name? I don't have one.
And if you go into YouTube, I know when I do, but if you try to type in Sam Rockwell, it just says Sam Rockwell dancing.
Yeah. Oh, and he's played some delicious bad guys. I mean, just so good.
So as far as the big Luke Skywalker moment, if it doesn't happen, and there isn't like a Jedi walking out in a cloud of smoke, and it's just okay. Well, I can't compete with that. We'll just watch this for a little while. That's talent right there.
And Gwyneth Paltrow and Scarlett Johansson just look at each other like, what is this guy doing? It's so perfect because, again, earlier in the movie, Tony Stark came down in an Iron Man suit with a bunch of dancing girls. And it's just like, to AC/DC, and he comes out like, oh, beautiful. Anyway, I'm so sorry.
That's all right. Anytime Sam Rockwell dances, we will take a pause. But what if the big reveal is just a pair of legs and shoes, and then the wheel of a wheelchair that rolls up, and that's all you see is the very, very bottom, and then that's when it cuts to black, and then you see the credits.
What do they call you? Wheels? So you're suggesting Professor X?
Would it be Stewart or McAvoy? These timelines have me all confused.
Oh yeah.
I love it. And it would be interesting to see if they stick with any of the original X-Men or any of the ones that they've even rebooted, other than Ryan Reynolds, because I think the word is he's in for Deadpool 3, and that's somehow going to connect. And what better character to connect some stuff than Deadpool?
Nothing says Disney like Deadpool.
Well,
so he had Vision taped to a bed, and he's talking to him, and he says, "Okay, this is where we're starting."
that my concern has been, that now that Disney has Deadpool, that Deadpool will be done. But Fox had Deadpool, and the first time they tried anything with him was just abhorrent. So give Disney a shot.
Can't get any worse.
You didn't like the Origins movie? Come on.
There are parts of it that I actually did like. Deadpool, what they did to him at the end, it was bad. Although the only good thing I could say about it is that it was then able to be referenced in a good Deadpool movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, that almost makes it worth them making that movie. I'm so conflicted. This is what it takes. Yeah, it's like, oh man, I wish that Green Lantern movie had been better, but it sure lent itself to some great Deadpool jokes. So
actually, they referenced it twice, because in the first movie he had the toy, and then
don't make the super suit green. Oh yeah.
And then in the second movie he went back in time. I'm just cleaning up the timeline. Don't worry.
That, and also when he does the thing, when he's getting shot at by Cable, and he does the thing with the swords and he's whipping around, because in Origins he actually deflects all the bullets like that, but in this he's like, oh wow, bullets are fast, and he just gets shot, and I'm just like, that's Deadpool right there. That is like that's what I'm here for with Deadpool. So I know we got a little bit off that.
What a great character and portrayal it is of that character, that every time we're here talking about WandaVision or Falcon and the Snowman or Falcon, it always goes back to Deadpool. It's like he is the center of the universe now.
So kind of like Dormammu, but not really.
I don't know. Maybe he's writing all the comic books.
Maybe.
He's my favorite character, but it does give him an unfair advantage.
So who for all of you, who would be the Luke Skywalker moment at the end in this movie? Like, who would you go, no way? I mean, that, and it would make sense. It just coming kind of like random someone show up, but I mean, who would it be?
I've got two. I would go with either Benedict Cumberbatch and bring Doctor Strange in, just kind of as hey, we brought somebody here to help us, or and I don't even care who. If it was just right at the end and Monica said something about her astrophysicist friend, and there's Reed Richards. So Reed Richards or Doctor Strange would fill my cup, I think.
Okay.
You don't see anyone, and then they're just like, it was the Invisible Woman.
Sue Storm. Thanks, Sue Storm.
Because she was invisible, she could pass through the hex without any problems.
That's not how invisibility works.
That's not how any of this works.
Oh, I know.
Different universe.
Maybe that's exactly how it works. I think they're definitely gonna.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say they're gonna be having a fun time with that in the Multiverse of Madness if the rumors are true of just getting like old people to take up their role again to just be like, or new people just to play like Tom Cruise as Tony Stark or like the different Spider-Man. They can do half of the stuff that's been rumored. It could be done very effectively. It'll be fun.
Mhm.
That's the whole point of having a multiverse movie, if you ask me, is doppelgangers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As long as Pig Spider-Man doesn't show up, I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
That's a bit much. I think that would be a bit much for Doctor Strange. That's more. I think that would like. Now, if you give me a Deadpool and a Spider-Man crossover, I'm done. All right, I'm gonna lose it. Can you imagine Ryan Reynolds hanging out with Tom Holland?
I think Tom Holland would be quite traumatized.
Exactly. It's gonna be awesome.
Before the
That's the whole
weekend was
point.
over.
Who do you think, Debbie?
I think it would be interesting, and I don't know how it works with the series, but I would probably crap my pants if Tom Hiddleston walked on the screen.
Yeah.
As Loki.
That would be a good one, and that would also be a good tie-in to his show. Stuff going on. I don't know. So, what do you think that would be? If he were to appear in the show, do you think it would just be as a tease for his own show, or do you think he's actually involved somehow with what's going on?
I think he's involved. I think he's been around.
Do you think he could be part of the big bad?
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, when did he escape? He escaped during the events of the time heist.
Right.
With the Tesseract, which does not allow him to move through time, but it does allow him to move through space. So he's been around since what? 2007 or whatever?
Right.
2012.
Doing what? Exactly. Like, that's the thing. So very much so we could see some Loki happening. I don't know in what capacity.
We don't care what capacity.
Well, I just also said like who cares?
It's Tom Hiddleston, for Pete's sake. Come on.
In the
Shut up and
trailer,
take my money.
in the trailer for his show, I'll give it to you.
Shut up and take my money.
Right.
Yes.
In the trailer for his show, they did, and we mentioned this a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. He has the time prison or whatever, the logo on his jumpsuit. What is it, Debbie?
TVA.
Is that like the Time Variance Authority or something like that? It's something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been, obviously he's mischievous. He's been messing with stuff. I'm wondering, did they catch him early? Did they catch him late? I can't wait to see the Loki thing for sure. Like, because I want to know all he's been getting up to since. That was like
wouldn't
the
it be
craziest
something
thing.
if he were Hayward?
Boom, and he could, because he can change and doing stuff with like he was one of the owners of the staff for a while, which had the Mind Stone in it. So that would definitely be very interesting. Good point there. I did not even think about that.
Or just one of the people that's been hanging around. I mean, he could have been one of the peripheral engineers, or dudes with a gun, or whomever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Loki's been around since free to roam since 2012, which means he's been through the last phases. So what are the odds that he and Rocket meet, and then Rocket turns to him and say, I didn't really need his eye. Forget it.
So much potential.
Yeah, I know.
So much. But I mean, Loki's done a lot of different stuff. So wouldn't that be? That would be awesome. Wouldn't that be
the Spider-Man?
Yeah. Wouldn't that be interesting that that's what put him in the TVA? Like, if that's what leads it into him being put away for being like uber naughty, just not like the normal level Loki-ness. But if he went back or he was free since 2012, he could have been watching from the sidelines this whole time of everything going on. and taking notes and knowing what was up and where things were. I mean, yeah, he could have certainly been in there messing things around.
It also makes you wonder, like, what was he doing during the events of Infinity War and Endgame? Because we don't think about that, because the order in which we saw things. Oh, well, he didn't escape until halfway through the time heist. Yeah, but that took place in like 2007. So like he could, who knows? He could have been. They could end up putting him in like every single movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like do side scenes and just like, oh, that was Loki. Like, it was Agatha all along. Just wait for it was you were brought. It was Loki all along.
I could do like they did for Forrest Gump and like just insert him in like these different.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yes.
Actually, do you remember when Lilo and Stitch came out, the Disney movie Lilo and Stitch? They made a big thing about putting Stitch in all the movies. I mean, he was with the dwarves when they were walking. He was following Sleeping Beauty up the stairs. I mean, they inserted him everywhere because they were trying to, look at all the stuff Stitch has done. And the movie had absolutely nothing to do with any of those movies. But it was like, hey, look what he's done.
Recognize that?
He's always been there. You just haven't seen him.
You just weren't looking. Yeah. It's kind of like I mentioned before, the Phineas and Ferb Star Wars. They just like had a different camera angle, so they're just looking over there now instead of over here.
From a certain point of view.
That's
So
right.
could Loki actually turn out to be? How do I put this? If he's around and he knows what happens, and he's helping out with, what needs to get done to fix Endgame to make it that one single thing, could he be, when he's arrested by the TVA, could there be a section of it where he's like, I've got to get out of here, the universe depends on it, and he's got to escape to go help fix phase 3 or whatever it is that we're in, where
Phase 4.
But wouldn't this also affect of the events of Thor Ragnarok, of all the stuff that happened in between, like, because he was being held by the Asgardians at a certain point, like that's what happens is at the end of that movie, Thor takes him to prison on Asgard, and then the events of Thor 2 happen. So does this change the entire events of Thor? That's the stuff that no one ever gets into. It's just like,
well, now there's 2 of them.
Our timeline or the alternate timeline? It's like, well, that's not how time travel works. You can't just keep saying that, okay? Because you did time travel, so it has to work somehow.
Right.
It's like in time.
I love that scene. And
it's a great scene. But...
It's great. Hot tub time machine, Back to the Future.
It's like none of these things.
Great Scott. I know, this is heavy.
Or you could do a Wayne's World.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
What a classic. You tell me that's not how time machine works? You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
That's exactly how time travel works.
Yeah.
You get a crazy old guy steal some nuclear waste from some terrorists to power a DeLorean.
And just a banana.
Right. Yeah, well, guess we'll see on Friday.
That is, the question is...
Ideally, how would you guys like to see it play out?
Well, I'd like to see like a fight that ends up leading to like the breakdown of the hex, which ends up leading to the ultimate reveal of some sort of whatever villain, or hinting at whatever person was manipulating everyone to cause this, which like this rip in reality is allowing them to make their way into art. Hence, what will cause Doctor Strange to show up or something like that. That's what I'm guessing. I would look forward to something like that. I'd also love to be pleasantly surprised. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing some vision on vision fighting, and see if it kind of plays out like it did in the comics at some point. I don't know if it would happen necessarily in the series or if it would happen in the movie, but at some point in the comics, they merge.
So
Do you think?
what time period are we in now as far as WandaVision is concerned inside
Current.
the TV show?
It's caught up, I think. You know
Yeah.
what I
Are
mean?
we in the 2000s and caught
Yeah.
up, or are we still, back in the 80s
Well-
where Vision fighting Vision, and you can have Foreigner playing in the background?
Well, I don't
You
think
could
we should
always have Foreigner
rule out
playing.
Foreigner. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just because we're now doesn't mean we can't play some Foreigner. You know what? I say glitch a stereo into that time period just so we can have that playing while they fight.
That's right.
But they did catch up. I think that's been, why they started introducing the after the credit scene, because that was something that kind of started really with like Iron Man and that's the type of thing in the MCU. So that was telling us we were at that time period, and now we're fully in MCU, caught up current day. The things that are happening right now.
Yeah.
The sitcoms are over. Everything's been explained, and now, really, for the first time, this next episode is we're full on
Yeah.
climax.
Yeah. And we, in the time period for the actual like what's happened, it's only like a week, right? Because she visited and they said 5 days ago she stole, him, and it's only been a few more days. So we're looking at just a week of time in the Marvel universe.
And Darcy even says, she's like, I've been watching you guys for the past week. She said that last episode. So
Yeah.
at most, it's only been that amount of time.
So when actually is now? Is now? Oh, no, just then. Oh, we just missed it. It's now.
When? Now.
This is us right now, sir. They're going
So
plaid.
wouldn't this take place in 2023?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Oh.
So
I've had just so much fun watching this. The acting has been fantastic. The sets, the writing, all of it. It's just been such fun. And it's funny because our kids are like, why do we have to wait a whole week for the next? And I'm like, look.
I don't know if you've
I
don't know if they've made this clear from this show yet, but life is tough.
Yes. Yes.
Have you caught on to that theme yet?
Yes. So
and if you don't learn how
like
to deal with that, bad things happen.
Sometimes you gotta wait for stuff.
It's like I tell my kids, I used to have to wait. We used to wait for a TV show the entire summer. And then at Thanksgiving, it would go away. You would disappear for Thanksgiving and then magically reappear in February.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There was all that period that we didn't have TV unless we wanted to watch what we just watched.
And if you missed it, you missed it. There was no reruns until like 6 months later, and maybe, and you had to look it up in the TV guide or the paper to make sure I missed that episode. Make sure I'm sitting in front of the TV at 7:30 next Tuesday. Yeah. So,
or if you understand how to work a VCR and just have
12,
spare
12,
blank tapes lying around.
Yeah.
Why is there a Pop-Tart in there?
Well, when I was watching TV, there wasn't even VCRs or remotes. I was the remote control. So,
the knob.
We have TVs with the little knob.
The knob.
Crank the knob.
Clack, clack.
I can relate to that.
we went all the way to channel 13.
Yes. And so you also, along with the knob, you had to have a pair of pliers on top of the TV in case the knob should disappear. And therefore, you had a way to change the channel.
Well, we always had the UHF TVs that had the two knobs. So when we lost the regular knob, we could just take it out of the bottom one because we never used that. There was never any UHF stations around. So we just pop it into the VHF. And we had two chances to lose the knobs.
What's that? Thousands of channels. Way back in my day, TV ended at 7. That's right. You could keep the TV on, but there was nothing to watch.
Just white noise.
Yes, kids. That used to be the thing.
Yep. Yeah. This is the end of our broadcast day. And good night. They would play the national anthem and then go to bed.
Now we can do this. Thank God.
I'm sure the viewers aren't saying that.
Are you playing devil's advocate?
It's all Mephisto.
Yes, I am. He's taking those kids. Darcy is Loki. That's an interesting theory. I don't think so, but oh, I made myself sad. Okay, I think that's it for this wonderful episode of Geek News Now Live, Marvel MCU Mondays, where we talk about, for now, WandaVision. Unless anyone else has anything you want to bring up, things you're looking forward to next episode specifically that we didn't get a chance to talk about.
Nope. I'm excited. Good.
Now, I think the crap's going to hit the fan next episode. So.
Payback is a bitch. Payback. Payback is a bitch. Payback. Payback is a bitch.
It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I hope everyone can make it back next week. Anyone that can, anyone from this panel is welcome back. We can talk about it next week. Everyone in the chat, everyone that watched us, you're also welcome back. We're going to be talking about the finale. I'm very excited. I can't wait to see how they conclude this story and what hints they're going to be leaving us for the future. No idea, but hoping for some crossovers, Fantastic Four style. But we will see. See you next time.